Yeah, great to be here this morning and really excited to present to everyone. My name is Henry Woodbridge. I'm the founder and CEO of the Undecided app. So we're a mobile app that helps high schoolers make better decisions about college planning. And we do so in an innovative way using behavioral science and emotional learning. We're all pretty familiar with the problem, and there have been a lot of companies in this space before, but I'll start with the problem. When I was in high school, I felt like I had a lot of potential, but not a lot of direction. And I made my college decision based on a random thing that a tour guide said. And it ended up being a great experience. I chose my college based on that campus tour, and it was a really enjoyable experience. And my freshman roommate ended up dropping out within 4 weeks because he said he didn't belong on campus. So it's a really severe problem, and the way that we kind of conceptualize the problem for our users are three main things. One, it's a lack of self-identity that a high schooler has at that time. So when you're 16, 17, and 18, you don't really have the vision for your life. They also don't have anyone to talk to about college planning outside of their family. So if you think about that time, you might have an aunt to talk to or your parents, but you don't have an authoritative figure. There's also not a centralized source of info about college planning. So a high schooler may search on TikTok or Google to find information, and they get a bunch of different sources. And that's an issue because it can be contradictory information. So that kind of equates to college selection being a happenstance and random. And it's also the #1 reason for stress in high schoolers in the US. So that's the problem we're solving with the app. We built a mobile app because Gen Z prefers every digital task they do to be mobile, and it's extremely important to be hyper-focused on building a product that our users love to use. So we want to be very focused on our user. Here are some screenshots from the product where you can have a college management tool and find colleges. You can have a college workspace, so you can manage your to-dos about that college and bring collaborators onto your college workspace, like your parents and guardians. And we also have guided activities to go through the college admissions process. And this is where the behavioral science and emotional learning comes in. So emotional learning can be defined as developing skills in self-awareness, self-control, and responsible decision-making. And the way that we map that to the college admissions decision is by an exercise like this. So if we take the example of how do we help a high schooler find college fit, we can start by educating them on the different type of college campuses by saying, large research universities, they have large lecture classes. And then we can do that for all the different college types, like a liberal arts college, or an HBCU or arts and design college. So we educate them, we have them choose what college fit they think is important, and then we have them go a step further to reflect on that through guided journaling and other activities. So they can say, I think I'll be a best fit at a research university because the large classes, or I'll be a good fit at a liberal arts college because of small classes. And that's the same type of activity that a professional guidance counselor, admissions counselor who would charge you $200 an hour would do with your student. So we're taking that and applying it to cutting edge UX. You can take that type of activity and programming through hundreds of different types of content in the college journey. So you can see in the screenshot of our app here, there's a lot of different types of content that you can go through and apply this methodology. And that's really what breaks down our model of a standalone B2C freemium model, where we have a lot of content in there. And you can get some free content, some free activities, and then pay more to subscribe. So with the model being said, there's roughly 15 million high school students. And those students and their families spend about $3 billion a year on private education consulting in the US. So really strong economics behind this industry. We think at scale, we have a plan to go B2B with partnerships in some international markets, but we think it's very important to stay focused on our customer and have a base B2C model at first. We launched version 2 of our product, which has some of the screenshots you saw today about 5 weeks ago, and we've grown 23% week over week since then. So we think we have really strong product velocity going forward and are seeing really strong user growth. We also have about 90 beta customers that we got last year through the B2C model, 82 students and 9 parents. And those payers converted at about 7% and 24% on average, which is a little better than mobile app conversion ratios. So we're really proud of that. Our team here, as I mentioned, I'm the CEO. I have former EdTech product experience, and I'm a certified admissions advisor. Just very hands-on with the problem. My founder, Dan Gardner, heads up everything engineering. He has 15 years of mobile app dev experience and is a second-time founder. So he's been a great balance to me as, with a lot of experience. We also have a really strong advising team to also kind of keep me focused in a very clear mission. Lastly, we're raising $100K safe on a $1 million post-money valuation cap. We're using this round as a bridge to raise a larger venture round after we've validated a lot of our current traction. We want to launch version 3 of our product, which would encapsulate all the screenshots you've seen today, and hit a few key milestones like 20K active users, 20% conversion rate on our users, and 10K MMR. So yeah, thanks so much for listening. And yeah, so excited to present. Thanks.
Good job. I think you hit on the majority of things. As I was listening to this, I was just thinking how important, as you go through the fundraising process, one of the things that you'll notice is sitting across from an investor who either immediately gets it and viscerally understands it versus don't. So I'm a first generation college graduate in my family. I am very much the happenstance college guy, right? Like a friend of mine had a room. So I was like, oh shit, all right, I guess I'll go there, right? My parents did zero, I don't think I ever talked to a counselor. So in the end it worked out, but again, happenstance. And now I have a 15-year-old who is really into where she's gonna end up for college. So my immediate thought was like, if this was an area I was an investor in, I would be ready to have a second meeting. I get the problem pretty straightforward. One of the things you pointed out, and I think something that might be something you could lean on a little more, you talked about it was the #1 cause of stress or something for teens, or I don't remember if you said #1, but I think having some data on that, raising a teenager, and now as a third-party observer, I'm like, damn, she is really stressed out. As someone who wants to go to an Ivy League school and all these other kind of things, we're constantly trying to ratchet stress off of her. So I think as a potential consumer of this product, I would pay a pretty large premium if you could show me how you could read it. So do you have data that supports this? And
yeah, we haven't measured data with our users on if it decreases their stress, but I think that's a great idea of something that we should measure. And yeah, it is the #1 cause of stress in high school seniors of all the different things you have to go through the process. So I think college applications is the #1, standardized tests are #3, so forth.
So who's the behavioral scientist? I guess that was the thing that I was wondered about, because you talked about leveraging behavioral science. I think there's a lot to do with stress reduction, et cetera. Is anyone on the team trained in that?
Sorry to interrupt. We don't have an academic on the team. It's mainly been me who's just self-educated on a lot of the research around it and then having to apply it to the product. And we didn't start as a behavioral science product. This has been something that's developed in the last 6 months, and it's been just a much better way to communicate what we're doing with our product. Yeah, so we want to lean into the research more and the data behind it, and I think we just need like an academic partner or something.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think that that's the next thing I would do from a team perspective, whether that person is a advisor or is my guess is advisor to start. But if there was someone at UNC or Duke or somewhere local that you went to school that studies, this kind of area, I think that's a huge, because I agree, I would pay a lot of money for something like this if I could truly believe like it's going to ratchet down the stress level around this, because it is a challenging process even today with all the information that's there. It seems like you've got a pretty focus on B2C, kind of direct B2C. Have you thought about B2B2C as an aggregator? Like, I think about the college counselors at the school my kids go to, et cetera. Is there a way to distribute through schools?
Yeah, at first, so I come from, at my previous corporate job, we sold directly to schools, and it's such a brutal sales process. So like it takes a couple years, and so we shied away from that. Just like as a lean startup, it's like we don't have time for the sales cycle. But now we think we can start to do B2B2C by basically giving it away for free to schools where we don't have to sign a big contract, or give it to organizations that work with high schoolers for free, and kind of have B2C there, but use B2B2C as like a distribution channel in a way. Is how we're thinking about it now.
Because I just say, I mean, my kids go to a private school, and these parents will spend money on stuff. And I could just imagine even an enterprise license that kind of helps the college counselor. I mean, I could imagine a dashboard for the college counselor to understand. I mean, they start in 9th grade for us, like pretty heavily. And so it's like, if I want to slice that data by what are the freshmen doing, and have they completed their tasks, and who's above and who's not, and like, I feel like that's a great market for you to get. I get the sales cycle challenge, so I would, but I've got to believe there's several of these schools that are pretty hardcore into that kind of stuff, that you could probably get a nice recurring license. My last thing would be, I actually think you could probably raise more than $100,000. I don't know if you have use for it. Don't raise more than you need. But I mean, $100K for 10% of your company, I don't know. I see a lot worse companies raising a lot more money than this, like with less meaningful problems and less far along in their journey. I wouldn't give away 10% of this company for $100K. That's sort of negotiating against myself as an investor, but that's just my sort of off-the-cuff reaction to your ask.
Unless it was a strategic partner.
Yeah, and they better be delivering revenue alongside of that.
Yeah, thank you.
So Henry, I'll compliment you on the problem definition, right? You did that really well, and this is a problem. I've got 4 kids who went through the process, and it is tough, and it is a huge decision, and there's a lot of stress attached to it. I did like I was trying to figure out exactly where you were playing, but you kind of got to, it's basically a virtual guidance counselor. So, and I like that phrasing, because, at private schools, there are a ton of resources at public schools, not nearly as much. And the ratio of guidance counselor to students in schools is not a good thing, right? So, I think that as you described the platform, right, mobile first was clearly key. The emotional learning, I think, is important. But if you look at that, and I think one of the reasons why a college choice is so overwhelming is there's so many choices. So does your platform allow them to do orders of magnitude of, okay, these are your scores, these are your grades, these are the schools that you're likely to be in, and these are the ones that you can you don't have to stress over because you're not going to get there, right? So those kind of things, if that's what your platform does, I would again, it becomes more of a matching process. And I would go back and look at some of the history of some of the dating apps, by the way, because there's an element of what they've done and how they've done it well that would apply here, because it basically is a matching system.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. I didn't think about that comparison to dating, but I think it really applies. We want to do college matching, and it's on our roadmap. It just, building products tough. So we're a few months out, but we do think we can definitely recommend colleges. So yeah, agreed.
Speaking of colleges, one that I would be remiss. I'm on the Dean's Advisory Board for the College of Computing and Informatics at UNC Charlotte, and it's a huge resource here in town, by the way. So if you're not connected there already, let's talk afterwards, and I will get you plugged in. But they're doing a ton of really interesting stuff around analytics and data, and have a whole bunch of graduate students and other folks there that could be helpful to you. So I would be more than happy to make that intro for you.
Yeah, very fun. I'll just talk
And
about it.
Yeah, as much as I like it, I used to teach at NC State. I went to Carolina, but UNC Charlotte graduates more IT professionals than either of those universities.
I had just one other. So, are you incorporating like ROI into the decision making? That's one thing we're like really ingraining in our kids is, spending $150,000 to learn something in a discipline that's not necessarily very marketable is not a good ROI. Like, do you take people on that journey, or is it more just like, where am I going to fit in and where am I going to feel good?
Yeah, we try to take them on that journey too, but there's so much content and like the conversation of how do I pay for college, or like how do I balance, forecasting what I'm going to do with my major and my future salary with how much I'm going to pay. So there's a ton of variables that go into it. We do try to go into like, think about the earning potential for your major. We don't explicitly say like, what's the ROI? And I think we could use that language.
I think if you think about this as like a long-term relationship and journey for someone, I could imagine that in the earliest days, the first thing I'm doing is curating my list that I want to, like, where do I think I might want to apply? And then I think over time, somewhere along that journey is the like, this is what I think I want to study, and maybe that curates down. And then there's the like, people that study, this at this university generally come out making X, right? That's my first perspective of ROI. And then maybe when I'm like deciding what I'm gonna sign, I'm able to even go into the like input of the last 3 schools and be like, here's the financial aid I have, right? And have like a pure calculator. But anyways.
And that takes us to time, but thank you guys so much. Thank you, Henry.